Today I have a VAD 1000 amplifier. I'm going to be doing a full review, test, and some subflex action on it today to see how much power it puts out. Stay tuned. So I'm excited to dig into this today. So this is the NVX VAD series amplifiers from NVX. Really looking forward to seeing what kind of power output it puts out today on my subwoofer with some flex tests you'll see. So anything else before I go forward? Links in the description for all details. Recommend checking it out to see price point, all details, pretty much everything the manual will show you. I like to see only the key points and mention only those. There's no need for me to read a manual. So looking here on the side, triple 30 amp rated fuses, so definitely could tell it puts out the power for this subwoofer amplifier. Monoblock 1 ohm. It has 4 gauge inputs for your power and ground, and then looks like it's 10 gauge outputs for your positive negative on the left side. And this series amplifier VAD actually comes in 2 channels, 4 channels, a 5 channel, and of course the 1700 and 2700 and others. So you'll see all of those on the site when you check out the description if you go to that link. So on the right side you can see the standard everything every amplifier would have with the LPF, gain, subsonic, boost. It has a remote, it has a protect indicator and power, no clip light on this one, and I'll be tuning all of these settings later in the video. I like that it has an input and an output left and right RCAs, so if you want to run more than one amplifier, you can actually do that. So I'm not going to be taking the back panel off. I don't like voiding a warranty. But that's the general view of how the amp looks. This is a small footprint space for this one. There's the bass knob it also includes and the normal hardware and manual I'll look into. So if you haven't already, hit a like. A thumbs up goes a long way. I really appreciate it. And let's keep digging into the manual. So there's all the key features there. I'm not going to read them out, but if you want to pause it and read on it. And here is the actual manual specs. So this is the 1000 watt RMS at 1 ohm, 760 watts at 2 ohm, and 4 ohm it goes at 420 watts. 1 ohm amplifier for subwoofers made for bass. So now I'm going to go ahead and get it installed, tuned, and test it out for power results. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and get everything installed to the amplifier, the power, the ground, the remote turn on, and then I'll go ahead and install the RCAs and then I'll tune it. Then we'll find out how much power it puts out. The real world RMS power test. So let's go ahead and do a first turn on first. Make sure the amplifier turns on with no issues, which it usually does. All right, so let's go ahead and do first turn on first. After the turn on, let's tune the amplifier. Every setting here, I'll go ahead and tune. Let's go ahead and get it turned on. So here we go. All right, we have power. No issues, no red light. I like that it turned on protect first so you can see and confirm that that light is actually active and working and it's not out. So now let me go ahead and tune this amplifier. I'm going to go ahead and tune every setting of the amplifier. We'll start with the LPF and move on right and set the gain last. So LPF I like to set normally around the 80 to 90 hertz range for subwoofers. This is a monoblock Class D amplifier, 1 ohm stable. So I will be wiring this or setting this up to around the 80 hertz mark. So how I do that is 250 and 50. If I subtract 50 from 250, that would be 200. So I know the halfway mark is going to be around the 100 hertz. And I'm just going to eyeball it. And I usually put it around the 10, 11 o'clock range for LPF. Most amplifiers, I kind of have it set there. You could use devices, but I just eyeball it. It ain't going to be perfect, but as long as you ain't setting it down at like the 50, 60 hertz range, you're not going to be cutting out those lower frequencies. So now for subsonic. So subsonic, I like to set it a quarter of an octave from the subwoofer box tuning. My enclosure is tuned to around 22 to 24 hertz on the low end, being a sealed enclosure. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to around 20 hertz, and I'll be happy with that. Sometimes I leave it off just to knowing my system, to know my limits. But for this test, I'm going to go ahead and tune that right to 20 hertz. So 55 minus 10 is 45. So 45 divided by 2, I know 22 and a half is right around that center point mark there. So I'll usually set this one Usually it's around the 9 to 10 o'clock range, but for this amplifier, it's going to be a little bit higher. There we go. So I went ahead and set that there. Bass boost frequency. So bass boost frequency, I'm going to go ahead and keep that at 0. I don't need to be boosting my actual bass, so I'm going to keep that at 0 decibels. And my bass frequency I will keep off. But there's no real need to have frequency when it's set to boost. So now let me go ahead and set the gain. So I'm going to go ahead and tune the gain using a DD1. Be sure to check that link in the description for where to get this on Amazon or eBay. But all I have is a positive and negative of the terminal for the speaker outputs. Using this device, I'm going to be able to tune my gain with this. This is an efficient way to tune it. Not the only way, but how I like to tune it, and I feel safe. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and turn the stereo head unit up and on and make sure I can pick up my 40 hertz test tone and set my gain doing it this way. So the 40 hertz you can see is picked up. There we go. So now let's go ahead and get it tuned. So the way I tune it is slowly creep up the gain until I see clipping. And when there's clipping, I stop and back off until there's no distortion. And it's done. So I'm going to keep turning it up until I see the red. There's red. Slowly back it off. No red. All right, it is completely tuned. So my gain is tuned. And it's right around the quarter or 3/4 or 1/3 mark for this, and that's with my head unit set at 30 out of 35 with a 40 hertz minus 5 dB test tuning on that, and that's where it's at. So now let's go ahead and find out how much power this thing's putting out. Oh, I forgot to mention phase. So phase I'm going to keep at 0. If I was running 2 of these amps with one of the subwoofers inverted, then I would put phase 180 degrees for one of the subs while the other amplifier would be at 0. That's only if I'm inverting one sub and the other sub is mounted regular. So one sub is inverted, one is regular mounted, so one of the subs would be in 180 phase, the other would be at 0. So hopefully that explained that. Now I got everything set and I don't need to use my output RCA because I have no second amplifier that I'm running. But if you wanted to run more than one, the VAD series definitely has that option, which is a nice extra perk. So now let's go ahead and do the clamp power results for the end. If you haven't already, put a like. I hope you enjoyed this content. Stay tuned for more videos and subscribe if you haven't. And let me know feedback in the comment section what you think about this amplifier, and we'll see what kind of power it's putting out with real world test on my subwoofer system right here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and wire this up, and I'll be using a clamp meter and multimeter, multiplying and dividing these numbers, voltage and amperage, to measure true wattage RMS within a 70 to 80% efficiency, even up to 90, depending on how the test goes and clipping and all of that. So first, let's go ahead and get this installed, positive and negative, and then I'll confirm that it's a 1 ohm load, and then we'll be able to be in business. All right, so I got these in. Having a single inputs was a little bit harder to get both in. Normally it has a double output, not input, sorry for that. So let's go ahead and check the wiring impedance to make sure it's right around the 1 ohm mark. So that's correct, it's right at 1 ohm. So this is a 1 ohm monoblock amplifier. So now let's go ahead and measure the clamped power results of it. So how this is going to work is I have a multimeter and clamp meter. This is going to measure voltage, this is going to measure amperage, and we're going to multiply those two numbers to see the exact amount of power ran, and then you'll divide the numbers to see the actual impedance rise, or the change that it will have for that result. So we're going to go ahead and measure this on voltage on the multimeter here, and then we're going to run the clamped number to the positive side of the speaker amp. So there we go. So this will measure one and this will measure the other, and we'll see the results of that. All right, so let me go turn the amp on, get this stereo set up, and then we'll find out what the power number is on this amplifier. Looking forward to seeing the results. So I got the vehicle on, got my voltage here, my amperage here. We're going to find out the numbers. I'm going to do 2 frequencies. First is going to be testing at like a 26 hertz tone, and then we'll do like a 45 to 50 hertz tone, and we'll find out the power on it. And I'm using Bluetooth back here to get it tested. So let me go make sure the head unit's right. All right, everything is good. So now let's go ahead and measure these tone numbers. We're going to do a test tone. So let's do 26 hertz first. Here we go. Make sure this is on max. 51.8 and 24.8. That was at 26 hertz. Now we'll go to the next one and then we'll figure out the numbers. Turn this off and back on. Now let's do 49 hertz. Alright, so those are the two numbers. Now I'm going to go ahead and run those numbers. I also hope you enjoyed that little subwoofer flex with my system inside. Check out the playlist on my channel, my setup for 2021, 2022, and you can see more videos on that as well. So let's go find out the results of these numbers. So here are the results. Definitely a subwoofer based amplifier for clamped power, right under 1300 watts at 26 hertz, and that was rising to 2 ohm. And then at 49 hertz, I got a little over 1100 watts at 1.5 ohm. So that's the results. Be sure to give it a thumbs up and like, share if you want, as well as let me know what you think in the comments. If there's something I made an error on or mistake, let me know. I'm not perfect. And shout out to NVX, really nice amplifier from NVX, the VAD series amplifiers. This is the 1000 watt amp I tested today, and it's definitely underpowered. Really nice marine powered amplifier. So I'll see you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed the video.